and it should pop right out.
Damn, that looks really, really clean. Hi friends, welcome back to the shop. In this week's episode, in my mind, this is a major upgrade to Dana's 2010 Subaru Forester. She laughs because she knows it's true. She currently has the OEM head unit in it, and it is a base model head unit.
It works.
It works. Yes, it works. Now, if you happen to see the last episode where I did an unboxing for this head unit, this is the Boss Audio Elite Series BN965BLC. This is not what some would consider a high-end head unit, but it is a budget-friendly, it is not low-end, and it is packed full of features that I know you're going to enjoy and actually use. So this was the perfect head unit for her vehicle, and I'm excited to get it in there. Are you excited?
Well, I haven't done a head unit install since 2005.
That's a long time.
That's a long time. Now, as far as why I haven't done it in 2010 Forester, to be honest, it's not a tape deck. So that in and of itself is an improvement. My previous vehicle did come with a tape deck, so I was justified.
Woo. All right. First thing we'll do is just kind of walk through the parts that we're going to be using to go through this. And I've already disconnected the battery, so you want to make sure that you do that before messing with any of the electronics on the vehicle, so that is done as well. Hi friends, Editing Art here. I just want to take a quick pause for the cause and say that our small nano channel has had over 45,000 views on it, way more than what we would have ever expected at this point in time. But one segment of that data is that only 4% of the viewers that have come to our channel actually subscribe. That's right, 96% of all the views do not subscribe. Now, that obviously hurts us from a growth standpoint, but it also keeps these episodes from reaching some of the top where other viewers like yourself are looking for that same type of content, as YouTube is always going to bubble up the episodes in searches that have the highest subs, the highest views, and the highest likes. So definitely help us out in our journey and our growth by making sure that you do subscribe for additional episodes. If you find value in this episode as you finish it up, be sure to click that like button, leave us a comment, and let us know. If there's something that you feel we could actually do to improve our channel, please post that up in the comments. We'd love to be able to engage with you and continue to make our channel and our episodes better and better for all viewers. So thanks once again, appreciate the pause. We'll get back to the regular install now. Take care. So let's jump into the hardware that we're going to use and then yanking out the old deck. You ready?
To yank?
To yank. Please be gentle. All right, here we go. All right, first we have the Metra 18-inch vehicle antenna adapter cable. The part number is 40-SB10-18. This right here is the actual wire harness that makes this kind of a quick connect, outside of actually connecting the other wires. This is by Metra. This is the 707552. It says it's 2007 and up with Nissan, but it also fits Subaru vehicles. A lot of these, as far as the automotive makers, kind of bleed over. So then of course we have the head unit itself, and then the very last piece is the mounting kit. Now this is by American International, and this is SBK 926, which is 2009 to 2014 Subaru. and it is both single as well as double DIN depending upon your application.
First step is going to be to remove the bezel protecting the stock head unit. And the best way to do that is go ahead and get some masking tape to protect your trim, and then take your spudger tool and yank it into the lower right hand corner, and it should pop right out. Just like that.
Good catch.
Now that the bezel has been removed, you can see that the head unit is held in place by 4 screws. 2 on each side. One's a little bit shallower than the other. So what we're going to do is on the top, we're going to cheat with some power, and on the bottom, we're going to do manual. Okay, now it just slides right out. So here you can see that the wire bundle coming off the harness there is actually pretty tight. So in order to pull out the head unit all the way, you're going to need to unplug it from this position. And make sure not to drop any wires back in the center console there. So there you have it. The stock head unit made by Clarion.
Couple of things on the stock cables. So these two right here are no longer going to be needed. And I'm actually just going to zip tie those back to the very back so they're not in the way. One of those goes to the auxiliary in ports there in the console. Second item is the OEM antenna. This simply disconnects right there where you see me pulling. The little gray adapter is where we're going to connect the new one that came in the Metra kit. Now our Metra harness is just a simple plug-in to the factory harness. Just like that. Great thing about these harnesses is that we can do all the connecting here on the workbench and then just plug it in into the car itself once we're done. OEM harness, pretty straightforward. The Boss wiring harness is probably one of the better ones that I've ever seen on the head units because every wire is individually labeled without having to go look in a manual to see what color goes to what. Now the Metra kit, they do a good job of providing the colors for the wires on the back, so you can use that as a reference as well. Now I'm an old school guy, so I don't use butt connectors. I want the wiring to stay together regardless of what's going on with the vehicle, no shaking loose. Now what says old school more than a Radio Shack soldering gun? How many of you have one of these lying around? It's been a long running with this one, but it still does fantastic. So let's go ahead and get started, get these things taken care of.
A few moments later.
Okay, we are all hooked up. Now let's go ahead and test out the head unit and make sure everything is working, at least at this point. We'll do a quick startup of the car and the radio to make sure everything powers up. We'll do a quick audio check in each of the doors just to make sure that everything is playing just fine before we run the wires for the GPS and button it back up. We have power, we have radio. Now I'll go ahead and do a quick test of audio for all the speakers with music, then I'll come back to the final steps. Alright, music plays. Everything sounds great. I won't actually turn it up so I don't get hit with a copyright strike on this, but very happy with the way that it sounds. Went through the quick mode buttons just to make sure that everything pulls up just fine. Of course, there's nothing plugged in right now. There's nothing auxiliary that's plugged in right now. Back to the tuner. Streaming for Bluetooth. I don't have anything connected at the moment. I don't have any discs in right now, so that's fine. Navigation pulls up. Of course, the GPS antenna is not plugged in, so it's not going to find our particular location, but just the fact that it comes up and everything is looking really good so far. All positive signs. So we have GPS and we have the parking brake to ground in order to be able to have the DVDs playing in a non-parked mode. So I'll go ahead and get those started now. So I stuck the GPS receiver right here in the corner. It's out of view for us as drivers. Running the cable, ran it straight up the pillar cover. We're good there. Pulled out the weather stripping along the door. Now I'm just gonna pop off that panel. Love how these just literally pop right off out of there. And from here, I'm just gonna take this wire, run it directly back through the fuses under the dash and then out to where the radio is. Alright, a couple of zip ties underneath the dash and have the cable out, ready to hook up. And we have proper GPS signaling. If you noticed before, it was looking at San Juan, California, but it's actually registering our street out in the middle of nowhere. So we are good. Moving on to the trim ring and mounting hardware that was in that kit. One thing that we're going to end up having to do is actually cut these off. These are in place. If this is a single DIN radio, this holds in that pocket piece, but because this is going to be a double DIN, we actually have to take the Dremel and cut those off. Now the head unit will already come with a trim ring that we're going to take off. Then this should slide right on down. Very nice. Now we'll just take the supplied screws that came with the head unit itself and bolt down on these sides here. The last piece was the parking bypass, and this will allow you to watch a DVD even while driving. There's a single wire on there, this parking brake wire. You'll attach that to a ground closest to the head unit as possible. What I ended up doing is looking for a bolt attached to the subframe underneath the dash, and then just soldered a longer wire to that parking brake wire and bolted it to that subframe. All is good. Everything is playing perfect. Parking brake is off. In gear, just the way we want it to be. Last thing to do now is just screw in the head unit and put back in the trim panel. All back together. Damn, that looks really, really clean. Very, very happy with it. All right, install is done, and actually perfect timing because we're getting ready to head out tomorrow morning for a 7-day multi-state road trip. This is going to give us a lot of windshield time for long extended use of the head unit to really try out every feature that it has to determine on whether it's going to meet the needs that we have and whether we're going to keep it installed or not. So if you found any value in this episode at all, be sure to go ahead, click that like button, click subscribe to follow along with all the rest of the episodes that we have. And be sure to click that bell so you get reminded for next week when that full next review episode comes out. But thanks once again for taking time out of your day to spend it with us. We certainly appreciate it. Take care, stay safe. We'll see you soon. Bye.